Hello friends, this is Promi and welcome back to the Kerbal Commonwealth Space Agency. Exciting developments from last episode. We have taken pictures of what appears to be another monolith on the surface of the Mün. This was discovered by Lilypad 1 in orbit. So we have a destination for our eventual crewed mission to the Mün, which we are going to be getting to shortly. Right now we have quite the bountiful amount of science from our Minmus mission, so we are going to look at the R&D, see what we can unlock. Okay, let's see here. This is new. I added this node and the mod that it contains. This is the Surface Experiment package. It's a sort of ground-based experiment system for the surface of other planets, so that should be fun. So we're going to grab that because we need it for our Muner mission. Also compact tools to be able to store items in these containers, and also to be able to hold pieces to build a rover in the field on the Mün. So should probably grab these additional vehicle parts. Want these smaller wheels to be an option for a rover. And we do need this 2.5 meter heat shield, as I mentioned not long ago. I have access to the capsule there, but not the heat shield yet. I need to test that capsule on the surface of the Mün to fulfill a contract, so we're going to grab the advanced polymers and crew training. So that leaves us with 177. So let's see what else is here that we need. Reaction control would be nice, but we won't be doing any docking, so I don't think it's necessary yet. Can't afford that yet. Electrical systems we will probably want though. Smaller probe cores, bigger antennas, more powerful lights, and importantly the powered screwdriver, which I believe we will need to assemble our rover. So let's research that. And that leaves us with 87. So if we manage to glean a little bit more science, we'd be able to have another 90 cost node. And I think we'll be staging methods, because I want this sort of standoff radial decoupler, because our Mün rocket will need to be quite large. So I think this will come quite in handy. So let's try to grab that last few science. Since we do have those new Surface Experiment package parts, we can test them out around the Space Center. Take a few baseline readings to compare our Muner readings to. Of course, of the experiments available, only one of them actually works here, but we'll test it and our base station. Also, Bill has been challenged with trying to figure out a rover to be built in the field. Has to be able to fit in these 4 containers here on the back of our runabout. First option is sort of tricycle style. Have this landing gear on the back. Main reason for that was because the larger wheels here take up a lot of space, and if I have 4 of them I can't really fit much else in our containers. The second option was more conventional style, with those smaller rover wheels we just unlocked. It's a little bouncy, but generally handles pretty well. These wheels take up much less room, so we can actually fit all of the stuff required for this one in only 2 containers. Maximum speed will be a little lower, because these wheels are somewhat more fragile than the larger ones. But I think this is the design we will go with. Also up on the launch pad currently, Halnie is sitting in our 3 Kerbal command pod, the Mark 1-2. She's just familiarizing herself with the controls. She will be our pilot for our Mün mission. So those experiments we did with the surface experiment package yielded a fairly decent amount of science. We have almost 110 now, so we can go ahead and grab our staging methods right here. Research that, and we want to grab that part. Okay. So now we're way down at 20 science, but we should have what we need. So let's get ready to build our Mün rocket. Alright, start with our command pod. It's funny that we had to pay for it again, even though we had access to the experimental version before. I think it goes without saying that this craft is going to be much larger than anything we have launched before. But I did some prototyping and figuring out the delta V I'm going to require. So I know more or less what I want. So this is our new triple chute. I believe we have done tests of the experimental version before, but now we have access through it through the tech tree. So I'm going to put some experiments on here, because they belong on our capsule, the basic ones. Just put them right along the side of the capsule. Something like that. Okay, let's see, what else do we need here? We need mystery goo. Do not need any multispectral imaging platform, because our unmanned probes have pretty much covered that completely. And on the other side, I'll balance it out with probably battery and antenna. So one of our bigger batteries and an antenna will balance it out just right. Those other experiments are physicsless, so they should not be a problem. Just gonna recess these things right in there. Make it look pretty smooth. Okay, so this is our Mün category antenna. Let's see what that looks like deployed. I think if we could use some rotation. That looks good. Let's put our heat shield on, which just like so. Still think those heat shields look like cookies. Kind of tasty looking. Need a decoupler now. Don't really like how the shroud looks with the smaller decoupler, so I'm going to remove it. Also recess this up because it's floating. Up. Is that good? I think that's good. Okay, now I'm gonna use some parts. I don't think I've used the universal storage parts before. No, because I have to unlock them. Okay. I'm going to use this quad core to store some wedges of different things we're going to need. Make sure we have enough supplies for any eventuality. Not sure how long we're going to end up staying on the Mün. Let me think here. So I think the water and the fuel should be opposite each other. And the oxygen and the food weigh similar amounts. We'll do it like that. Okay, there we go. So you got food, water, fuel, and oxygen. So next I want... Where is... There it is. So this is the only 2-meter tank we currently have, this tuna can looking thing. So our lifter is just going to be a crazy mass of 1-meter boosters. But on our lander we will use these things. Now the calculations I did earlier suggest that this should be able to return from the surface of the Mün. I'm going to put some more tanks around here, but they will be for transferring fuel down to our transfer and landing stage. I'm going to change it to liquid fuel and oxidizer from just liquid fuel. So I'm going to do it sideways like this and do 4 of them. And I'm also going to use this little teeny tank just to cap the ends off. A little extra fuel, and I just think it looks nicer. Okay, there we go. Okay, let's play with it a bit. Something like that. Looks pretty nice, I think. Okay, so next thing, let's do our next stage. So I will need another decoupler, and I'm going to grab some more of these tuna cans. Now I think this one LV909 by itself is going to be insufficient. So what I'm going to do is make a row of 3 of them. There we go. Okay, so let's get them lined up. Something like that, and just because I am a fussy pants, I want to make these kind of symmetrical. So like that, and then we can rotate this one, something like that. And now I don't like how this looks, so I think a little nose cone in there will help us out. Maybe put them a little bit closer together. Just enough so the blue tip is not showing. Yeah, I think that should work out. Okay, now we have some more things to mount in here. Starting with our inventory containers. We'll want 2 of them. That should be enough to fit everything we need. Now I'm just gonna get them so they are not intersecting with our decoupler or engine, because that would definitely cause problems and not look very nice either. Something like that should be fine. So those will be our storage bins for our surface experiment package and also our small rover. Some tools as well to put everything together. The last thing I'm going to need here is more fuel tanks. So I'm gonna fill this space with some more fuel tanks. If I can get them lined properly. I'm gonna use 4 of them, although it's not proper 4-way symmetry, so I'm gonna have to do 2-way symmetry twice. Let's make it so it's not intersecting with our container. Actually, that's less important. What's more important is we don't want it to intersect with the engine. Actually, no, we don't want it to intersect the top at all, because that's a separate stage. Actually, I was going to put some of these tanks here as well. I like these orange tanks. They're nice for doing a bit of detail work. Adds a little bit of visual interest. I've seen some people make some pretty interesting replicas of real-life spacecraft using these to good effect. I'm going to need the same thing on this side. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to make sure it's not intersecting with the engine. I think it's okay, actually. How we doing here? This needs to come out more. Is that looking good? I think that looks pretty good. It needs to come out like that. I think that is pretty balanced. Okay, so we need some landing legs on here. Let's grab the big ones. This is going to be tricky. These are one of the weird parts where you can't actually pull them any farther from the surface than they already are. If you try, they actually snap inwards. So I think we're going to have to put some struts on here to help out. Let's grab these octagonal struts. Mount our legs on the side. About like that. Can bring them in a little bit. And this part as well. Okay, that's as far as we want to go. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. Subtract those in. Actually, I don't like how it's not really centered. Doesn't really matter, but it kind of makes it look less stable. Put these back on here. So now they're not snapping. Right. Let's try this again. Put that on like that. Put this on like... nope. This isn't behaving how I expected it to. I wonder if I put snapping on and use the translation tool. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, that'll do. So let's get this better. Maybe this should come down a bit. Just so those little bars don't intersect with that tank. And then I don't have to have them so far out. Yeah, I think that looks sturdier. Yeah, okay. That looks good. Looking pretty nice. Okay, now we need the ladders and we need to fill our containers. Let's put some ladders on here. So if I just mount some ladders all the way along here, that should work out. So I'm going to try not to mount any of these directly to the capsule. Can I mount Yeah, here we go. Okay, let's try to get this within reach of our astronauts as they come out of the capsule. Let's get another one on here. Like this, perhaps? Nope. Looks pretty good. Okay, so we're coming right down this way. Should try to figure out where we need our actual folding ladder. Telescoping ladder. That's what I meant to say. Is that gonna get us close enough to the ground? Yes, I believe so. Okay, so now we just need some more of these ones to get close enough. I think one more on top here or something. Okay, we'll fix it. We will fix it. Let's get this one out a little more and rotate it a bit. This one will go up. Okay. I'll try to make this make sense. So what are we gonna do about this one? Is that gonna... maybe? I think that will work. Let's bring this one up a little more. This one can go up. This can go up just a little bit too. And that should still be within reach. There we go, that's our ladder. Let's bring everything in. Let's save this before something crashes or anything like that. This vessel is going to be called the Gray Vector. We'll save it as such. Now let's work on our inventory. Okay, so both of these will hold 1,000 liters, so a cubic meter. Let's start with the wheels that we needed for our rover. There are those little ones. So we need to bring 4 of them. I'm just going to set these as different names. So bin 1 and bin 2. Just so I can keep track of which is which. Okay, so we need science experiments. Our rover will need one of all the basics, and going to need all of these surface experiment package parts. And then I need screwdrivers. Got our special screwdriver for the experiment package and our powered screwdriver for assembling the rover. Okay, that should cover it for our surface experiment package. So let's look at more rover parts. I want to get this field scientist's equipment. This allows us to store experiments somewhere while we're on the go, since this rover will only have command seats. Won't have a capsule where I can put science experiments that we want to rerun. So Bob can carry that around when he's on foot. We'll want some lights. I'm going to use these new Mark 1s that we got. See, speaking of which, I'll probably want to put some landing lights on here. Put 2 in the base. And let's tweak them a little bit. I think that'll do. Still works fine with our struts? Yeah, okay. Alright, so what else do we need for the rover? Rover needs solar panels and batteries. Oh, and our central station will need a solar panel as well. 4 for the rover, 1 for the experiment package, and then I need a couple batteries. We're getting pretty full here. We only have 2 spots left. And juggling inventory around. Okay, we got our command seats, we got our equipment, experiments, tools, lights. Yeah, I think we are pretty much set. Okay, good stuff. So that should be enough delta V to get us from low Kerbal orbit to the Mün, land, and come back. It's actually not showing the delta V from these side tanks because they're not directly attached to the engine. I'm just going to transfer fuel from them into our main tanks while we're on the go. We're going to start our lifter. We will call it the L6 Inferno. Going to run out of fiery names soon. Probably use a different naming system for our 2-meter rockets. Now we want another decoupler. And then I'm going to put a fuel tank in front of the fairing ring, just so that we don't have such an abrupt transition. Should be more aerodynamic that way. Set this so it can cross-feed, because we want the fuel to be able to go through it. And let's see, conic fairing. There we go. Everything in there, nice and snug, looks like. Okay. Kind of looks like a Q-tip at this point. Or cotton swab. If you're somewhere where Q-tips are not the generic term for those. Okay, let's use our Reliant engine. Don't need any thrust vectoring here, because we will have some on the boosters, as we will see. And the command pod has quite a bit of torque with its reaction wheels. Okay, so for boosters, we're going to need 8 of them. This is why I wanted these decouplers. We're going to have 8 boosters. And they are going to be similarly huge as our core stage. So again, 3 of these. And 1 of these. And I would put parachutes on these, but I want to save on weight and complexity. So I'm just going to use these regular old nose cones. Yeah, these are like half the weight of the parachute. And I don't know how easily something this large is going to be able to be recovered. Might fall over in the ocean and damage itself. So I think I will not bother this time around. For engines, let's get some more Reliance. Little winglets. Keep this stable. There's not much space to put on the core stage. And this will have its boosters through most of the ascent. So we'll put these on the boosters. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now our thrust to weight ratio is not sufficient. This thing will not even get off the ground. So we are going to use these Mark 55 thuds. They also have some thrust vectoring, which will help us out, because none of our other engines do. We're going to clip right through those winglets. Alright, now these are a little too high. Let's bring the whole thing down. Now, I think these are a little, well, I'm going to say they're a little more spread out than they have to be, but I think we might leave it like that. So our thrust to weight ratio does not look right because I believe our staging is not right. So let us fix the staging. All the engines shall be on the same stage. Then we will decouple all the boosters, followed by the fairings, followed by our core. Then the 3 lander engines, and then our Mün liftoff vehicle, and then our parachute. Yes, that thrust to weight ratio looks more reasonable. Right, last thing, we're going to put on some launch clamps. Just want to sort of make it so they don't hit the fins. It would be nice if you could make these like extra long, horizontally, and you could attach just a couple up here and not have to attach the boosters, but this is how it works. Okay, looks good. Now before we launch, we need to figure out if there's any launch window considerations to think about, since we do have a particular landing site we want. So let's head back to the tracking station. Actually, before we head to the tracking station, I think our rocket is too heavy for our current launch pad, so we'll need to upgrade that to level 3. Will cost about 300,000 funds, which won't impact us too much, so let's go ahead and upgrade that. So now we have the final launch pad. Alright, let's check the tracking station now. Okay, let's take a look at the Mün here. So our landing site is going to be right about here, where we discovered that anomalous spot on the surface. So we want it to be in the light when we land. And we also kind of want it to be facing Kerbin. That would make it the most straightforward to land at. It's less of a concern though. It takes about 1/4 of the Mün's orbit to get there. So if we launched now, we would get to the Mün when it's here. So if we go 1/4, this is going to be over there, so we're going to have to wait a little while. So let's just time warp forward a few days, possibly a few weeks. Okay, so it's getting into the dark. Well, I guess our landing site is always in the same place relative to Kerbin, since the Mün is tidally locked. I should have thought about that. So it's really just the lighting. So if we set it for when it's more or less at the terminator, when we arrive, it should be right in full daylight. So that should be good. Let us prepare for our mission. And with our rocket being prepared and our crew getting ready to board their capsule, we are just about ready for launch. but that will be in the next episode. So I hope you have enjoyed this. This has been Promi. Thanks for watching.